In my pool, need a little water.
Yes.
If I know my throat, it will. That's the thing. So you can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we are going to continue to read the Sri Upanishad, which is, I'm not sure if it's the oldest, but when we count the Upanishads, Isha Upanishad comes first. Isha, Katha, Katha is the second. So this is a part of one of the Vedic scriptures, the Yajurveda. And actually the translation, discovering the original person. It's very interesting because, I mean, this is more or less a translation of the Sanskrit name. Sri Isha Upanishad. Isha is the Supreme Lord, and Upa, it's how to approach discovering Upanishad. So because, okay, no. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Too much.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you.
So because it's a long time ago we spoke about the Upanishad, I would like to read today's text number 11. So we're going to read text number 9 and 10 also, or mantra. So mantra number 9 says, Andam tama pravishyanti ye vijayam upasate tato bhuya evate tamo yau vidyayam rataha. So this one says, those who engage in the culture of nascent activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. So we have gone through this verse, and what this means basically it's better to be an ignorant sense gratifier than a sophisticated sense gratifier. I mean, people always were looking for happiness since time immemorial, human beings, but maybe their search was not so sophisticated. Actually, I read in school that in the Roman Empire, these very rich emperors or senators, whatever they are called, I don't remember anymore, they would eat as much as they could, and then they would take something, so they would throw up everything, and then they would continue eating. So this is a kind of what this verse means. It's better just, you're hungry, you eat your lunch, you're happy, you continue. But when you start to make your sense gratification more and more sophisticated, it's actually worse. Because, how do you say, the more one becomes attached to this world, the more it's difficult to get out of this world. So simple sense gratification, avidya, is better than this vidya, which Srila Prabhupada translates here as so-called knowledge. So this is verse number 9. It's very hot in here, isn't it? Or it's me? I come from Lund. It's colder there. Thank you. So now we're going to review briefly this verse number 10, mantra 10. Anyad evahur vijaya, anyad ahur avijaya, iti shushumadhiranam, yenash tad vichachakshire. So the wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. This is quite a simple interpretation, is that if you develop knowledge, you will attain one result. If you engage in ignorant activities, or if you cultivate ignorance, then you get a completely different result. So here, vidya, in the previous verse, Srila Prabhupada translates as so-called knowledge. Here it translates as knowledge. So this means Krishna conscious knowledge. And avidya, it's this word you asked about, nations. Ignorance. It means either material knowledge or just complete ignorance of spiritual life, and one just engages in living in this life without understanding the real purpose of human life. So now we're going to go to mantra number 11. Mantra. I took a few notes here. Let's see. It's a pity you don't have your board. Where is your whiteboard?
Here behind the painting.
Oh, okay.
But I can...
Nah, it's too much, because then one can write the verse before and everybody can follow this. Okay, so you can try to repeat after me. Vijayam. Maybe he also can see, no? I don't know your name, sorry. Henrik. You're from Germany?
Yes.
Sorry. So Vijayam, Cha, Avidyam, Cha, Yaha, Tat, Veda, Ubhayam, Saha, Avijaya, Mrityum, Tirtva, Vijaya, Amritam, Ashnute, enjoys. Oh, sorry, we are not there yet. Vidyam chayas. Vidyam chayas. Tad vedo bhayam saham. Tad vedo bhayam saham. Avijayam rityum tirtva. Avijayam rityum tirtva. Vidyayam ritamashnute. Vidyayam ritamasnute. So now we are going to read word by word translation. Vidyam, knowledge in fact. Cha, and. Avidyam, nations. Cha, and. Ya, a person who. Tat, that. Veda, knows. Ubhayam, both. Saha, simultaneously. Avijaya, by culture of nations. Mrityum, repeated death. Tirtva, transcending. Vijaya, by culture of knowledge. Amritam, deathlessness. Ashnute, enjoys. The translation: only one who can learn the process of nations and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessing of immortality. So you can repeat after me. So only one who can learn the process of nations, sorry, and that of transcendental knowledge, side by side, can transcend the influence of repeated and enjoy the full blessing of immortality. So here we have still a third concept of knowledge and ignorance. So here, in this verse, nations actually doesn't mean ignorance, but it means something which we call apara vidya, material knowledge. So this verse, it says that in order to attain the goal of spiritual life, or here according to this verse, to become immortal, one has to develop knowledge of the spiritual world, but also knowledge of the material world. And knowledge of the material world, in our terminology, in the Vedic terminology, it means actually varnashrama. You know, that we follow the rules and regulations of the Vedas, how to live happily in this material world. So here it said, only if you know both, you can actually progress in spiritual life. So first it says that any form of material sense gratification, we should just neglect it and give it up. But here actually said that we have to live in this world, we have a material body, we have to take care of that body at the same time as we develop our spiritual knowledge. So this is a very long purport. I don't know if we're going to make through it, but we'll try. It's many pages. Okay, so the purport. Since the creation of the material world, everyone has been trying to attain a permanent life. But the law of nature is so cruel that no one has been able to avoid the hand of death. It is a natural fact that no one wants to die, nor does anyone want to become old or diseased. The law of nature, however, does not allot anyone immunity from death, old age, or disease. Nor has the advancement of material knowledge solved these problems. Material science can discover the nuclear bomb to accelerate the process of death. But it cannot discover anything that can protect a man from the cruel hands of disease, old age, and death. So there is many interesting things in this verse. In the history of humanity, there has always been an interest in avoiding death, or if not avoiding death, to understand, what is the meaning of existence and what happens after that. But here, Srila Prabhupada is mentioned the search for immortality, and there is in the Greek mythology there is this famous example. I think she was called Cassandra, and she asked for the blessing of immortality. And she got this blessing of immortality, but unfortunately, she forgot to ask for the blessing of eternal youth. So she got the blessing of eternality, but her body just degraded. She just became older and older, and finally they were just carrying her in a plate. And she could talk. She had consciousness. She was kind of alive, but so then she was trying to get the blessing, how to die, how to get rid of this situation. So we have to be careful what we wish for, what we ask for, because this example of Cassandra is there. Then another interesting point which Srila Prabhupada brings here is that we have had an enormous advancement in science, and this book was written like 67, 60, 70. So even in these 60 years, the development has been enormous. Like how they do operations nowadays. It's just quite amazing, that they go in the veins and they see everything where they're going, and they cut and they sew, and just everything in camera with machines. It's very, very sophisticated. But still, they have not solved the real problem of death, old age, and disease. The death rate is still, as far as I know, 100%. So, and the disease is basically the same, that's, of course, they have developed medical science, but at the same time, they have degraded the quality of the food, that things which people eat, like this fast food. In Europe, it's not so relevant yet, but I mean, if you go to the United States, I mean, it's a massive crisis, also financial crisis, because insurance companies, they don't want to give health insurance to people anymore, because they drink several liters of Coca-Cola and they eat 5 hamburgers, for 10 years, and then they get 100 diseases. Nothing works, they have, the veins are clogged, the heart, they get strokes, heart attacks, all these diseases, diabetes and so on. So we have made some advancement, but the problems, these basic problems of existence are there. And it's not that, I mean, we mentioned death because we are some kind of death cult, but it's just a fact. All of us who come to this material world, at one point we must leave. So what are we going to do with this life? Is life meaningless? Or is there a meaning to life and we must search for it, so that not everything we had performing during this, our existence in this material world will be lost? So material science, they can make a nuclear bomb, which kills people very quickly, but they cannot do the opposite. Of course, the hygiene has probably become better, and people live longer because of that. But maybe now we'll see when they put so many artificial things in the food and it's so processed. Maybe we'll see a downtrend in health. So from the Puranas, you have any questions? If you make questions, want questions, you just raise your hand and I will try to answer. So from the Puranas, we learn of the activities of Hiranyakashipu, a king was very much advanced materially. Wanting to conquer death by his material acquisitions and the strength of his nations, he underwent a type of meditation so severe that inhabitants of all planetary systems became disturbed by his mystic powers. He forced the creator of the universe, the demigod Brahma, to come down to him. He then asked Brahma for the benediction of Amara. Amara is deathliness, by which one does not die. Brahma said that he could not award the benediction because even he, the material creator who rules all planets, is not Amara. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8:17, Brahma lives a long time, but that does not mean he does not have to die. So this is a famous verse of Brahma Bhuvana Locan. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that all the places in the universe are the same. It's not that only on earth people are born and die and are diseased and so on. These things exist all over the universe. So Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bed. So this gentleman was interested in these two things, money and women. And he wanted to enjoy them by becoming immortal. He asked Brahma many questions indirectly in the hopes of fulfilling his desires to become an Amara, an eternal person. Since Brahma told him that he could not grant the gift of immortality, Hiranyakashipu requested that he not be killed by any man, animal, God, or any other living being within the categories of the 8,400,000 species of life. He also requested that he not die on the land, in the air, or in the water, or by any weapon whatsoever. So in this way, Hiranyakashipu foolishly thought that these guarantees would save him from death. Ultimately, however, although Brahma granted him all these benedictions, he was killed by the personality of Godhead in the form of Nrsinga, a half lion and half man, and no weapon was used to kill him, for he was killed by the nails of the Lord. Nor was he killed on land, in the air, or in the water, for he was killed on the lap of that wonderful living being who was beyond his conception. The point here is that even Hiranyakashipu, the most powerful of materialists, could not become deathless by his various plans. What then can be accomplished by tiny Hiranyakashipus of today, whose plans are throttled from moment to moment? Hare Krishna Swayambhava. So here we have a more sophisticated version of Cassandra. So Cassandra just said, I want to become immortal. He wanted to become immortal, but Lord Brahma said, you don't have a better seat.
It's okay. I'm just fine.
Vyasa-san. So he wanted to become immortal, but Lord Brahma said, no, I also die in the end of the universe. Lord Brahma lives billions of years. He's the creator of the universe. How much do you know about Krishna conscious philosophy?
Not much.
Because this is all terminology for those who know. So I'm sorry, but I will try to make it accessible. So anyway, so he wanted to become immortal. Why? Because, he wanted to enjoy. And here it's explained, Hirani is gold, money. And Kashipu, it means bad, and then in the Vedic scriptures explained he was attached to money and to women. And of course he thought that was very nice, so he didn't want to die. He wanted to continue with that forever. Which, in one sense, is maybe normal for a materialistic person. So he asked, okay, you cannot make me immortal, but at least you grant me the benediction, I will not die during the day or during the night. And Lord Brahma said, okay. He forgot the twilight, which is also, the morning and the evening. There's twilight. So he forgot that. So he was killed at twilight. And that I should not be killed by any weapon. So he was killed by this incarnation of Krishna, who is half a man, half a lion. You have a picture here, Emma, of Lord Nrsingadev. Where is he? Oh, okay. So there's an incarnation of Krishna. Krishna appears in multifarious forms. Yeah, but that's a very small picture. So Lord Nrsingadev is Nara, means human being, and Simha. Simha means a lion. So it's a form of Krishna, is half a man, half a lion. So he killed Hiranyakashipu with his nails. And it was not in the air, it was not in the water, it was not on land, it was on his lap. So all these benedictions which he asked for, they were all thwarted by the appearance of the Lord. Throttled, his plans were throttled. So Hiranyakashipu was it's described in the Vedas that he was enormously powerful personality. He was a materialist, 100% materialist, an atheist, but he was enormously powerful. So even for him, it was impossible to become deathless. So what to speak about us? Because for many years, and I think scientists still today, they try to discover what is the genes of immortality. They go into the DNA and they take a gene, and this gene is responsible for the decay of the mitochondria or whatever of the cells. And then they take it out. But when they take it out, everything else goes crazy in the DNA. So, because it's a whole system. So, anyway, so I think that human beings have understood that immortality is not possible. I think even science agrees with that. Of course, famous movie stars, they get deep frozen. They die of a disease, and then they pay $5 million, and the company is very happy, keep them in the freezer, and they say, when there is cure for for my disease, then you just, how do you say, you just thaw my body, and then you cure me, and I will continue to live ever after. This is also the Hollywood, they will happy ever after, but not easy to achieve. There is no ever after. It will always have an end. It can be a happy end, but it can be. So you want to ask something on these things, or no? If everybody's fine, okay. So I just.
Yeah, I can.
Not you. It's okay. Shemu, we'll go on.
No problem.
I'm just
In
joking.
cell division, there is a counter, and programmers know that there is a counter. It's called telomeres, and every division of the cell, this is diminished by one.
The code.
Yeah. So when then the count goes down, then goodbye. So they're trying to mix it, stop the process,
But even programming, this is there.
it doesn't work really. They attempt to stop this clipping of the telomere, this tail,
Yeah.
which counts. You know, like Greeks, they had these three moiras, which were one was spinning the thread of life, another was measuring it,
yeah.
the third one was clipping. You understand?
So here it is explained. I mean, basically to summarize what we have read in these 5 paragraphs, it's immortality in material terms. It's not possible. So the Shirsh Upanishads instructs us not to make one-sided attempts to win the struggle for existence. Everyone is struggling hard for existence, but the laws of material nature are so hard and fast that they do not allow anyone to surpass them. In order to attain a permanent life, one must be prepared to go back to Godhead. The process by which one goes back to Godhead is a different branch of knowledge, and it has to be learned from revealed Vedic scriptures such as the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and etc. To become happy in this life and attain a permanent blissful life after leaving this material body, one must take to this sacred literature and obtain transcendental knowledge. The conditioned living being has forgotten his eternal relationship with God, and he has mistakenly accepted the temporary place of birth as all in all. So the Lord has kindly delivered the above-mentioned scriptures in India and other scriptures in other countries to remind the forgetful human being that his home is not here in this material world. The living being is a spiritual entity, and he can only be happy by returning to his spiritual home. So here in these 2 paragraphs, so the Upanishad is giving us a little hope. You must die, but there is also a way to get out of this circle of, for us, because we accept reincarnation. For us, it's a repeated circle of birth and death. But there is a hope behind this. There is a system by which you can transcend death. And what is this system? This system is to follow the process of bhakti. There is also other processes. There is the process of jnana yoga, by cultivating knowledge. There is even the process of karma yoga. We follow the process of bhakti yoga. So we want to establish our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with the Lord, who is an eternal living entity, and we are also eternal. So we have this aspect of eternality within us. The problem is that when we come to this world, we become so much, how do you say, absorbed in our existence here, so that we forget our other part, which is eternal. So in the first process, the first part of the process, in understanding spirit or spiritual existence, it's to understand one's own nature and to understand that one's own nature is eternal. Our definition of eternality is a little bit different, like for instance from the Christian eternality, because in Christianity, for instance, they say that the soul was created at one point. It will live forever, but it was created. In the Vedic conception, eternal means no beginning and no end. Because the Vedas follow the logic, if there is a beginning, it must be an end. Because this is the laws of material nature. But we have the concept that eternality means without beginning and without end. Like sometimes we may try to understand how is existence possible. This is one thing which has bothered philosophers. Okay, we say there is God. I mean, what was there before God? I mean, if there was nothing, how could God make himself? Yeah? I mean, it's a good question. I had this question for many years in my head when I was young. I mean, okay, there was nothing. I mean, there is not even anybody to decide that I will start existing. I mean, it's an impossibility. Existence actually, logically, with material logic, is an impossibility. Yeah? I mean, how could God create himself? But in the Vedas say, we're never created, this is an eternal energy. And this makes a little bit more sense because, okay, we don't solve the problem. But in the material world, matter is inert. Matter doesn't have the possibility of, by its own energy, create anything. So we move a little bit the problem to let's say, to a more transcendental platform, where other things are possible. You know, there is more possibilities in the spiritual world and in the spiritual realm, which allow for it being a little bit more easier to understand. Fully possible to understand, it is not. Because, I mean, we only know the material world, so somehow we have to follow material logic. So we cannot understand that, you know, even to understand that something has no beginning, it's kind of a little difficult concept, I think. Maybe not for you, but for me it's very difficult. I mean, how is it possible? There was never a beginning. Something was always existing. So therefore in our philosophy, we have this concept that understanding that many things we cannot understand.
We can just accept it.
Yeah, we can accept them.
I mean, the age of Brahma, you know, billions and billions of years, is day and night. I mean, how can we even imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, just accept.
Yeah.
But if we can accept almost anything, why should we even investigate what's really the beginning and how it works?
Because we are not robots. We have intelligence, and it's our duty to investigate things properly. We cannot just accept things blindly.
I accept where my mind cannot get it anymore. It's enough. Sometimes where we open the.
Then you are subject to be, scammed or.
No.
Yes, so therefore I say you should use your intelligence. You should ask. The thing is like this. I mean, let's say you think about the material world. We have a stone or we have a planet. Okay, if there is no forces on this stone, I mean, it will continue to exist forever, isn't it so? I mean, If there is no heat, if there is no sun, there is nothing. It's just
Time exists.
a block of stone.
It's already some power.
Time is a power, is the presence of Krishna in this material world. This is correct. But, I mean, time in itself, without any force, it will not do anything. Just time in itself, I mean, the forces which act within time, they may cause changes. But otherwise, this is actually already explained in one very old scripture, which is called the Vedanta Sutras. It's explained the material nature cannot be its own cause, cannot have created itself. And they give a long reasoning regarding this. A little bit complicated to go through here, and I don't know it fully. But the basic idea, it's like this, that if you accept the existence of a spiritual world with more subtle laws of existence, then it's easier to accept than to accept that death matter, it's its own cause, and it was eternal. Actually, matter is eternal, but not always in this form. No, he's not convinced.
I'm always okay, but never convinced yet.
Because, I mean, let's think that you are in the spiritual world, yeah? Everything you desire manifests immediately.
I cannot imagine that.
I mean, even here, whatever you desire will happen. Here it's just a little slower. But whatever you desire, your desire controls your whole existence.
Just the time and space, it is stopping our limitation. Normally it's happen everything, yeah. Like if we not exist, this time and space, is the things manifest directly. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, I give up. Sven Bube?
Actually, concerning the one of the first verses in Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jigyasa, which means you are entitled, you should inquire into the absolute. This is your duty.
It's the first.
Yeah, it is the first. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually, it's not just you blindly accept. You have to inquire. So jigyasu.
I mean, the original purpose of the Upanishads, it's to inquire. The meaning of Upanishad is to come near a master and inquire. Of course, connected with this inquire, it also has to be a purification of intelligence. Like when you go to the university, I mean, they put you through hard tests. You don't remember anymore, eh?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so, like, in my case, I was studying mathematics, maybe for 20 years. And, like every course, you just think, I mean, how is this possible? I mean, it's infinitesimal dimension space is a function, sequences, all these denominations, just very complicated. So they drill your intelligence. So the same thing we have to do in spiritual life, to broaden our horizons. Because our horizon, when we come to this material world, they are limited. We are limited, with this body, the amount of intelligence we have, limited by the senses, etc. So this whole spiritual process, which we have in Krishna consciousness, is meant to purify our being, physical by taking prasadam, and then the heart and the mind by chanting, by meditation, etc. And then these things become a little bit more clear.
By asking, we get what you call jnana, but how to get to vijnana, when we have a realized knowledge? It's an extra step you need to take after asking and understanding things. You need to practice it somehow.
I actually wrote this. I wrote like this. Experience has to be connected in education in order for learning what is going on, what's happening. Just by experience, like, I can give just a very simple example. If you drink 1 liter of water with your meal, your digestion is not going to work, yeah? But many people, they don't know this, so they just drink a lot of water. One day a friend or some people they know, I mean, you cannot drink 1 liter together. The stomach must have some fire, some heat to process what you have to digest. And then you understand, okay, now I understand the cause of my problems was that I was drinking too much. So education and experience, they have to go together. So this is the same thing with jnana, knowledge, and vijnana, which means realized knowledge.
Myself this morning, sorry Prabhu, I just thinking about myself. I read something and my mind cannot get it fully, and I think I hear from devotees, read. Man, I am taking easy till I have possible to accept and to understand what I am reading and where I am to get the what I can absorb. Yeah. Otherwise, it is just going around and I get nothing, not understanding about what I am reading or what I am experiencing. And for this, I take like how much my conscious or my being can have it possible to accept or absorb it.
Okay or not? Yeah. Dirshan?
I would like to continue and bring us back to the original Upanishad text, which puts actually science and transcendental knowledge side by side. So you have to learn both processes of science and transcendental knowledge side by side. So basically material way and spiritual way, you have to know both of them, right? I think it's also connected to the discussion we have now. So you have to know both transcendental and material in order to...
I mean, you cannot just become a spiritualist and forget everything else. Because, I mean, we are given a body. Many of us have a family. So we have to take care of the material circumstances. And this is what we'll come to a little bit later, which is varnashrama. But the step from jnana to vijnana comes gradually, and it depends of your purification. I mean, I have read Bhagavad Gita for 50 years almost. I still open pages from Bhagavad Gita and I said, I mean, I read this book 20 times. I mean, is this here? I mean, how can I have missed this? I must have been sleeping when I read this page. But it has nothing to do. It's your internal processing. And I think when you study any science, you know, first you start to go a little bit around it. You know, you understand in general terms, and then in more specific terms, at one point, you have to become completely absorbed. I mean, I know that, I mean, you cannot make a PhD if you are not completely absorbed. Of course, now you have ChatGPT, but who can make PhD for you? But you will be discovered. But you must become completely absorbed in the subject. And this is actually the goal of higher education, to teach you how to be able to penetrate a subject and actually understand all the inside of it. So it's exactly the same thing as in spiritual life. Full absorption, it will bring very quickly vijnana.
I want to add something.
No.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Otherwise, I never get further.
Yeah, just small thing. I did before like family, business, and all the things I think in like everyone does. And after I'm going nowhere, I think it not make sense anymore for me. And I let it everything. I go to the spiritual life fully. I disconnected myself from everything, everyone, all the people, meditated full time, learning how much I can possible, practice it how much I can possible. And still it is not making sense for me, like to let the other part, okay, it is like this human form. And there I understood fully, like we need to have it both of them. Our existence or our connection with the spiritual who we are. And they're missing one point after where I came to Krishna conscious, and it was so wonderful how we can engage all the senses, everything who we are, with the divine or with the supremo. Yeah. And there it was after full picture. And now I am learning slowly by slowly what this means really to be connecting with Krishna or divine.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Will not let you go, Ilya. You're satisfied? You're satisfied, okay.
Continue.
Okay, thank you. No, I just want to know if you're happy with the answer.
It's
So,
not show, I think. It's everyone's listening.
yeah. No, but I mean, you made this question of Jnana and Vijnana. I mean, I wanted to specify as good as I could. So the personality of God had sent his bona fide servants from his kingdom to propagate this message by which one can return to Godhead, and sometimes the Lord comes himself to do this work. Since all living beings are his beloved sons, his parts and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings which we are constantly undergoing in this material condition. The miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with that matter. Intelligent living entities generally take note of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of vidya, or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge, and a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called a Naradhama. The path of avidya, or advancement of material knowledge for sense gratification, is the path of repeated birth and death. As he exists spiritually, the living entity has no birth or death. Birth and death apply to the outward covering of the spirit soul, the body. Death is compared to the taking off, and birth to the putting on of outward garments. Foolish human beings who are grossly absorbed in the culture of avidya nations do not mind this cruel process. Being enamored by the beauty of illusory energy, they undergo the same thing repeatedly and do not learn any lessons from the laws of nature. So here we are coming into the aspect of this purport, in the part of this purport, where Srila Prabhupada starts to explain how this mechanism of engaging in spiritual life, how does it work? What is actually the culture of knowledge? And there is one thing which is here very important. It's that, okay, we all know that many parts of life, they are very troublesome. Actually, life, there's many miseries in life. So we can ask, what is the purpose of these miseries? Why is not everything perfect in this material world? And the answer is given here. The miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with that matter. So we know from the Bhagavad Gita that we are spiritual living entities, and we have accepted a body in order to exist in this material world. And this body is perishable, and it's full, and material existence is full of problems. So the Supreme Lord create this material world like that in order to remind us that this is not our proper place. So that we should get out from here as soon as possible.
Bad diseases and bad things that happen to you, it is a blessing from Krishna.
If you can see it like that, it's very good.
Yeah. I mean, my allergic for dogs, for cats, that's a blessing, because I cannot go home to these people. I cannot even see my grandchild. So, yeah, what to do?
And you were working in a hospital all your life, so you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know the miseries of the body. So in the Bhagavad Gita it's explained that as the soul, as one puts on, how do you say, as one takes off old and worn out clothes and puts on new and fresh ones, in the same way the soul gives up old bodies when they have become useless and takes up new material bodies. So this is from Bhagavad Gita. And this process is very troublesome, to every, to go through many births and go through the same problems and the same difficulties. So therefore it's the mercy of Krishna to make that this world is a kind of a difficult place, in order to wake us up to that we are not actually in our proper place. Any comments or questions here? Yeah, please.
So is that like, it's always difficult for me to imagine that something is carrying, like something eternal is carrying us in a way that it's implementing measures to remind us of this incompatibility. Is it more to, like, do you think about it as something that has a purpose, like it was purposely built to in order to remind us of this incompatibility, or is it more like something that happens to remind us of this incompatibility?
Let me see where I can start in a way which is understandable. We have a certain concept of God, and God, I mean, according to our philosophy, we have an aspect of God which is impersonal. We call that aspect Brahman. And this aspect of God is like a substract of the universe, of all existence. It's lying everything you don't see, but everything is lying on this energy of Brahman. It's an impersonal aspect of God. Above that, there is an aspect of God. We say soul. In English, it's translated as super soul. So it's an aspect of God which is within every living entity. So we say that we are spiritual living entities. Inside the body there is a soul, our real self, and next to this soul there is this aspect of God which is called the super soul. How is the super soul functioning? The super soul is functioning, they describe it as the overseer and the permitter. So is seeing what's happening with us and is allowing us to a certain extent to fulfill our desires and to direct us in the right path. So this is a purposefully, this is a form of God which has a purpose, and actually this super soul, this form of God, exists only in the material world to follow the soul and to help the soul, which otherwise is quite helpless. Because, okay, we may have a desire, but how does that desire become actually realized? So God is helping us to realize our desires. In another definition, from another Upanishad, it is said that what is this? So one definition of God is that He is fulfilling the desires of everyone. He said there is many eternal living entities, so all the souls are eternal. God is eternal, and what is the difference between them is that God is fulfilling the desires of all the other ones. So this is a purposeful process. Besides these two forms, the Brahman and the Paramatma, or the super soul, there is a third form of God, who is a personality, and who we can relate to as a person. So there is definitely a purpose. If I answered it, you're satisfied?
Yeah.
Fine, Buba.
I have a question. Can you relate to Paramatma within the body?
Contemplation.
Oh, for contemplation.
What would be the contemplation?
Contemplation, it means
The tank,
I mean, by meditating on the Hare Krishna mantra, the mind and the mental processes, they become more, I would not say stopped, but they become more tuned with the energy of Paramatma. There is also, how do you say, I wanted to say something, it just skipped me. I cannot remember. I wanted to say something about Paramatma. Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita, there is this verse, I'm situated in everybody's heart, sarvam ridi sanivishto param smriti jnanam apohanam cha. So, and for me comes memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So this, like now I forgot. And the Paramatma reminded me.
Sarvasya hridisa nivishto mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha.
Yeah.
Vedayascha sarvairaham eva vidyo vedanta krit
Veda vacham, yeah.
So he is Vedanta Krit and Vedavit.
Yeah. But, I mean, how you understand the presence of Paramatma, it's by developing introspection into these processes. Knowledge, memory, and forgetfulness. There is many others, but these are the basic ones.
Okay.
And the mind has to become, develop some kind of transcendental awareness. In the old ages, one would meditate in the form of the super soul in the heart, and there is many instructions in our scriptures how to do that. This in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explained. The super soul has 4 arms. It's on the size of a thumb. It's situated in the heart, and so the relationship with the super soul, it's basically a passive relationship. It's not a relation of worship, but it's a relation to be of one become sensitive, so to say, to the voice of God within. Like in our Western English terminology, we have some conscience. So that means when you're about to do something, there is, don't touch that, better not to, I must, but there is always this voice. Except
when I was smoking, all the time when I smoked, I knew it was wrong, Somebody told me it's wrong, but, I didn't listen for a long time.
Even in the Christian cartoons, they have the devil on one side and God on the other. He wants to do something, drink alcohol or something, and God is saying, no, and the devil says, it will be okay, it will go, you have a good time, and it will go. So there is this function of the which is explained in the 13th chapter, Upadrashta Anumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshvara. So the super soul, Upadrashta, he's the overseer, is seeing everything which is happening. Anumanta is giving the permission. Bharta Bhokta Maheshvara. So within the body, there is one enjoyer, which is the soul, but besides the soul, there is the super soul, which is the supreme enjoyer, Maheshwaram. 13th chapter is very beautiful. Okay, let's move on. Where did I finish? Okay. So now we are going into the difference between aparadharma and paradharma. So aparadharma, it's the material dharma, our material duties, and the aparadharma are our transcendental duties. So the culture of vidya, or transcendental knowledge, is essential for the human being. Sense enjoyment in the diseased material condition must be restricted as far as possible. So why must sense gratification be restricted as much as possible? Because the more sense gratification we have, the more bound we become to this material world, unfortunately. It's a little bit like glue, You have a swimming pool with glue, and you dive in the swimming pool. When you come out, you're still full of glue. You have to wash it off. So it's a little bit like this material world. So unrestricted sense enjoyment in this bodily condition is the path of ignorance and death. The living entities are not without spiritual senses, Every living being in his original spiritual form has all the senses which are now material, being covered by the body and mind. So here is also a very interesting thing, explanation, that actually we have all these senses, you know, the eyes, nose, touch, hearing, taste. We have all these 5 senses. Actually, these 5 senses are also in the soul. So they are not just existing in the body. They exist in the soul, and because they are in the soul, we are able to perceive and analyze what is going on. Like, I mean, there is a certain medical theory for the eye, how the eye functions. You see a picture and the picture projects and so on. But, I mean, who is seeing the picture? I mean, one can ask that. Who is seeing the picture, you know? Okay, there is this process, whatever it is, but who is seeing the picture? So, according to the Vedic understanding, the spiritual soul has senses, and because the senses are in the spirit soul, our senses can also function in the material body. But the senses are ultimately, in the bottom, they are spiritual. So the living entities are not without spiritual senses. So activities of the material senses are perverted reflections of spiritual pastimes. In its diseased condition, the spirit soul engages in material activities under the material covering. Real sense enjoyment is possible only when the disease of materialism is removed. In our real spiritual form, free from all material contaminations, pure enjoyment of the senses is possible. The aim of human life should not be perverted sense enjoyment. One should be eager to cure the material disease. Aggravation of the material disease is no sign of knowledge. What does this mean? Aggravation of the material disease is no sign of knowledge. But a sign of avidya, or ignorance. A fever must not be increased from 105 to 107 degrees, this is Fahrenheit, for good health, but should be reduced to the normal 98.6. I think this is probably 36, 37. That should be the aim of human life. The modern trend of material civilization is to increase the temperature of the feverish material condition, which has reached the point of 107 degrees in the form of atomic energy. So meanwhile, the foolish politicians are crying that any moment the world may go to hell. I mean, first we see the irony. First you create an atomic bomb, and then, now we're going to get destroyed. What did you expect? I mean, it's like I make a fire here, you know, and then I say, oh, the house is going to burn down. I mean, it's a very, very deep comment here of Srila Prabhupada. Meanwhile, the foolish politicians are crying that any moment the world may go to hell. That is the result of the advance of material knowledge and neglect of the most important kind of life, the culture of spiritual knowledge. So in material life, one is always hankering for sense gratification. And in connection with that, people are looking for power. Why? Because when you're power, you can control others, you can control money, you can get what you want with money. So this is why people are so power hungry, because they think that by having a lot of power, I can control my environment and I can be completely happy in this world. But they don't think about spiritual life. They don't think that at one point this whole body will be finished, and also whatever actions we have executed in this material world, they have a reaction. I often think in relation to politicians, I mean, they're always talking about global warming, global warming, global warming. I mean, I think when I analyze the world, global warming is just, I don't know how to say in English, the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there is so many problems in the world because of this idea that we have to have endless enjoyment, and for that we don't have to respect the laws of nature. Actually, I think the global warming is just a little portion of Hare Krishna, a little portion of all the problems which are there in this material world. There is pollution of the oceans, and there is pollution of the water, pollution of the air, and I mean, slaughterhouses, yeah, killing of animals. It's also horrible. So we continue with our dear politicians. That are the result of advancement of material knowledge and neglect of the most important kind of life, the culture of spiritual knowledge. So Sri Ishopanishad herein warns us that we must not follow this dangerous path which leads to death. On the contrary, we must develop the culture of spiritual knowledge so that we may become completely free from the cruel hands of death. So this does not mean that all activities for the maintenance of the body should be stopped. There is no question of stopping activities, just as there is no question of wiping out one's temperature altogether when trying to recover from a disease. To make the best use of a bad bargain is the appropriate expression. The culture of spiritual knowledge necessitates the help of this body and the mind. Therefore, maintenance of the body and mind is required if we are to reach our goal. The normal temperature should be maintained, and now I say in Celsius, 37 degrees, and for that goal, the great sages and saints of India have attempted to do this by a balanced program of spiritual and material knowledge. They never allow the misuse of human intelligence for diseased sense gratification. So this is a little bit what we are mentioning in the beginning, that okay, in this, we are in this world, we have a body, we are engaged in a society, so we want to engage in spiritual life, okay, but we should not neglect our material duties. And this is what is called in Vedic terminology the varnashrama, the dharma. Dharma has 4 aspects: artha, kama, how is it? Artha, kama, moksha? No. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Yeah, these 4 aspects. So what has happened in modern civilization is that people are just absorbed in 2 of them, which is artha, financial development, and kama, satisfaction of the senses, satisfaction of lust. They have forgotten the other part, which is how to attain liberation from this situation, moksha. So this is the advice of the Upanishad, that we cultivate, we take care of our material duties, but we take care of our material duties in such a way so that we respect nature, we respect the laws of God, and at the same time we cultivate spiritual knowledge. Okay, so now we go in here a little bit in what is they call the paradharma, or the transcendental knowledge, the transcendental activities. So human activities diseased by a tendency towards sense gratification have been regulated in the Vedas under the principles of salvation. This system employs religion, economic development, sense-gratification, and salvation, but at the present moment, people have no interest in religion and salvation. So, no dharma and no moksha, just kama and artha. Sense-gratification and economic development. They have only one aim in life, sense-gratification, and in order to fulfill this end, they make plans for economic development. Misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development, which is required for sense gratification. Thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death in heaven, there is some system of religious observance. This, however, is not the purpose of salvation. The path of religion is actually for self-realization, and economic development is required just to maintain the body in a sound, healthy condition. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind just to realize vidya, true knowledge, which is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for working like an ass or for culturing avidya for sense gratification. So here is in very strong words explained that, okay, we have to take care of our material duties, but we should not become overwhelmed and completely subjugated to these material duties, so that we don't have time and energy for our spiritual life. We have to cultivate, take care of the body and our material duties, but at the same time develop spiritual knowledge. The path of Vidya is most perfectly presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which directs a human being to utilize his life to inquire into the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized step by step as Brahman, Paramatma, and finally Bhagavan. This is what I was explaining, these three aspects of God. The personality of Godhead. The absolute truth is realized by the broad-minded man who has attained knowledge and detachment by following the 18 principles of the Bhagavad Gita described in the purport of Mantra 10. So we have been through this before. The central purpose of these 18 principles is the attainment of transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Therefore, all classes of men are encouraged to learn the art of devotional service to the Lord. The guaranteed path to the aim of Vidya is described by Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we have presented in English as the Nectar of Devotion. The culture of Vidya is summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam in the following words: Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavyam kirtavayascha jaya pujas chanityada. Therefore, devotees should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is their protector. Unless religion, economic development, and sense gratification aim towards the attainment of devotional service to the Lord, they are simply different forms of nations, as the Sri Ishopanishad indicates in the following mantras. The culture of Vidya in this age, one must always hear, chant, and worship with concentrated attention, aimed at the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the Transcendentalists. So here is, in this paragraph, is explained actually the essence of Krishna consciousness. The most important aspect in Krishna consciousness is actually that we have to purify our heart. And how we do that? We do that by chanting the holy name of the Lord. We have this powerful Hare Krishna mantra. And the process how this Hare Krishna mantra works is that actually it is said that the hearing is the most subtle of all senses. Anyway, there's an explanation to that. It says that when you are sleeping and somebody, let's say they're coming into your house, you don't see them, you don't feel them, but you can hear them. So anyway, the sound is supposed to be the most subtle of all senses. So what we do in the meditation in the Maha Mantra, in the Hare Krishna mantra, is that we listen to different sounds which are of a spiritual nature. So Hare, Krishna, and Rama. It's actually a very simple mantra. It's 3 words. And by listening to this Hare Krishna mantra, what happens is that the sound goes into our ear and it goes into our heart. And the heart becomes purified. And when the heart becomes purified, we understand many things which we did not understand before. I mean, one of the things we will understand, which we already know, but we are not really fully aware, is that our existence here can be finished at any second. We can also understand that to live just for a material purpose, it doesn't give us happiness. Material life, as most people live, it's a little bit of happiness, then a lot of work, then maybe a little bit of happiness again, and this goes on for 5 days, and then you have Saturday, you are crashed out because you've been working already 40 hours, and on Sunday you're already worried because tomorrow you have to work again. So, if you analyze most part of life, it's just a struggle, to collect money, to live and to pay for one's living, and to advance in one's career, and one has to work for a company or for a boss who is only interested in making money with us. So material life, it's a huge struggle. So to make advancement in spiritual life, the chanting is crucial. It's the most important process of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. This is a very strong weapon which was given to us by Lord Chaitanya. And we should take advantage of this Maha Mantra. And at the same time, we can study the scriptures. There is simple books like the Swish and Bhagavad Gita. There is also more advanced books. There is an array of literature. Like Srila Prabhupada has translated like 90 books, which Emma is collecting here very nicely. Direct translation from the Vedic scriptures. So we should take shelter of this process and try to understand. It will come in steps. First of all, we will understand that we are spiritual living entities. Why? Because like when we engage in spiritual activities, like when we engage in chanting of Maha Mantra, of the holy name, it gives us satisfaction, it gives us happiness. Then gradually by engaging in this process and understand that this process actually makes us happy, then we are able to give up this search for sense gratification, which never leads anywhere. Okay? It was a very long purport. I'm sorry it took a long time, but you want to make any comments, Swayambhuva? I'm sure.
No,
I don't believe.
Very enlightening. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have one question left.
Yeah, please.
When reading this shloka, or how it's called, 11th
Mantra, yeah? They call
mantra,
them.
I had an impression that Vidya and Avidya are perceived like a binary process. It's either that or that. Is it so?
Not in this verse. In verse number 9 and 10 it is. In verse number 10 it is. But in this verse, what Srila Prabhupada is speaking is there's something called aparavidya. So it's knowledge, but it's knowledge of matter. I mean, a very simple example of aparavidya, you must keep your body healthy. Yeah? So therefore, you try to the best of your understanding, you try to eat food which is nourishing, which makes you healthy, gives you energy, etc. Yeah? So this is a part of aparavidya. Another part of aparavidya is the varnashrama system, by which you may understand that maybe it's very difficult to live alone and you want to get married, and there is the marriage, the institution of marriage. So this is called aparavidya. The paravidya is transcendental knowledge, but they are both considered knowledge because one cannot exist without the other. If you just go in for the transcendental knowledge, paravidya, and you completely neglect your body, you will come to the point where you cannot do anything. You maybe even die if you don't take care of the body. So this process, it's not that, it's not, how do you say, it's not proper to engage. I mean, you have to engage in material activities. You have to engage in taking care of the body. Otherwise, you don't have a tool for self-realization. The body is a tool. The body is not only bad. It has many problems, but it's also a fantastic tool, because with this body you can engage in a transcendental process. You can... Hare Krishna. It's okay, Ilya? Yes. So in this verse, so vidya is transcendental knowledge, and avidya is still knowledge, but it's knowledge of matter, of material circumstances, how to run one's life. But in verse number 10 is vidya is Krishna conscious, and avidya is just materialistic life. And in verse number 9, vidya, avidya is ignorance, sense gratification, and vidya is sophisticated sense gratification. So they have three different meanings in these three different verses, which is kind of bewildering. I agree with you. I have difficulty keeping track of them, but because I have given these lectures, I read them in detail. But otherwise it's difficult to keep track of them. But the conclusion is on verse number 11, that you must develop both processes. Krishna also explains in Bhagavad Gita that if you eat too much or too little, if you sleep too much or too little, you cannot be a yogi. You cannot practice yoga if your body is completely out of balance. You can do that if you are completely on a transcendental platform. But on the path towards that transcendental platform, you have to accept the rules of the game. Okay? Anything else? Emma?
You mentioned, Prabhu, about the Mahamantra. It is good to hear where we are doing the chanting and meditation. And my question, it is important to hear it from our own voice, or it is, for example, from the Prabhupada or from the other saints, can be much more transcendental? What it is the best way?
It is like this, that in our, I know this must be a modern sentence, because in the Vedic times there was no airplanes.
Yeah.
But what I have heard from Srila Prabhupada, it's at the time of death, you have to fly your own airplane. Maybe you have a tape recorder next to you. This is one point, we have to become independently, and independently strong. Then, because this is a spiritual process and the soul has senses, when you are chanting yourself, you're engaging several senses. And therefore the process goes much deeper, and it forces you to focus on the sound. When we are listening to somebody else chanting, maybe sometimes you listen, sometimes you don't listen, because the mind is carried away and we are doing different activities. So when you are chanting, you have to say the mantra and you have to hear the mantra. And that forces the focus.
Thank you. And I come to the next question. Prabhu there, he's closing the eyes. He told me 2 weeks before, where you hear the mantra and read it in the same time, there you are in the platform, or you can visualize all the time the mantra.
So that is your mind is always, attached with the materialistic. So when you start to writing the same mantra using your mind, then this is the way how we can, during the chanting, detached with the materialistic world. So,
you visualize Devanagari?
No, you need to write your mantras in
In Devanagari?
No, it's any language, it doesn't matter.
Ah, okay. I mean, I have seen that some devotees, for instance, they look at pictures of Krishna while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, but actually the perfection of the chanting is perfect pronunciation and perfect hearing. You don't need actually anything else, but those things can be helpful.
But when your tongue is habitual, then automatically your mind will be attached with the other things. In your mind,
Nah.
things are going.
You have to train your mind not to fly away. It's not easy. So therefore, this process which you're suggesting is not bad. It's not bad. It's a help.
Not suggested by me. It is suggested by some, spiritual gurus in
Yeah.
Vrindavan and other.
So whoever suggested it's not. I don't think it's bad. It's a help. Like some devotees, they like to chant, looking at the picture of Krishna. This is helpful. But the ultimate, how do you say? The perfection of chanting is when you are fully able to pronounce correctly and hear every sound of the mantra without your mind going away. But the way there is not easy, so therefore we are allowed to use any helpful. Also, we have the beads. Yeah, this is also something which keeps our focus. Our fingers are, instead of being all over, our fingers are here. And so all these are helpful processes.
Yeah, I understand. But sometimes your fingers are habitual those activity. So even you are not focusing, that continue after some time. So that's why we, gurus, they ask us to focus when you are, chanting with your the mantras. That time you can write the 1 month, and that time only 1 time you can. So continuously chanting means sometimes you lose your mind control.
I mean, the thing is like this: when you attain perfection in the chanting is going on 24 hours a day. There is no diversion of the mind. In the beginning, there is a struggle, especially in our modern society where we have to work and run around like crazy during the day to do so many things. So then it may be very difficult, but ultimately when you attain perfection in the chanting of the holy name is sufficient, and this chanting goes on continuously. And this is actually the state of perfection, and if you attain this state at the time of death, your transfer to the spiritual world will be very smooth, because there is no other ingredient in your practice except the holy name. It's 100% present. But I agree that in the beginning, I mean, we all have to struggle, because you start to chant and the mind goes all over the universe.
And this I wanted to share, this helped me, this technique, like to pronunciate better the Maha Mantra and focus to the right in the same time, just to teach the mind.
Everything is valid if it helps you.
Just I experimented and I saw it after.
But to sit in the early morning, 4 o'clock, and it's all quiet, and you have your picture or whatever, and chant, that's it. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's not every morning happen, but when it does, it's good.
I have one last.
I remember the very first time when I got acquainted with Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. I got beads and I tried to chant, and it was so incredibly difficult. So when finally I made one round, which is 108 mantras in a row with no deviation, I was so proud of myself. Goodness, 108, don't stop. Because mine was just thinking of everything else. It was so difficult to force it into submission.
But any process which works for...
So there is one more difference. If you are chanting without visualizing that name, so one time writing name and chanting is equal to 1,000 times equal when chanting. So
say again, so if you write down the Hare Krishna mantra,
yeah, you have to visualize the Hare Krishna. Each letter you have to write, and then only one time you have to. It takes too much time.
you have to visualize each letter.
If we have in the mind in the same time, not just the hearing.
Now I start to make faces. I don't understand. Anyway, this is, we follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada said that, the perfection is, you say Hare Krishna, and when you say Hare Krishna, you listen to the sound, and the mind doesn't exist actually. If you are able to listen to the chanting, the mind doesn't exist. It becomes lost. Swambhuva.
It's how to say Shabda Brahman. The Vedic concept is of listening, not of writing. It's no harm in writing. It's quite fine, but the original is, as I said, it goes through the air. And like all the Vedic sound goes through the air. It's not really written. In fact, even Devanagari, Brahmi script, is a relatively recent invention. It's because Kali Yuga came. It was no need before, even in Dvapara Yuga. Why? Because everybody were listening. You come to spiritual master, you want to Tasmat Guru Prapadyanta Jigyasu Shreya Uttama. Jigyasu, you have to be inquisitive. You come to spiritual master, you listen to him once, and that's enough. There is no need of writing. So writing is maybe a help, like you have a crutch when your leg is bad, but it's not the main thing. When you're healthy, you walk on your own. So same here. It might be helpful as a crutch, but the stress is on the listening, chanting and listening. This is a Vedic process, which Srila Prabhupada.
Swambhuva Pomagi. Thank you.
Myself, I have much more easy to remind where I hear the lectures. When I hear from the devotees, you need to read, and I read little bit. But for me, it is coming much more easily where I hear. And what it is the combination? Maybe this it is the Prabhu try to explain. Like if we read in some way in the same time and hear it, maybe can be helpful too. Yeah.
You can read loud also.
Yes.
You can read loud for yourself.
Yeah.
It's super efficient.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have one question about demigods. Sorry.
Okay? It's okay. You don't have to be sorry for questions.
We get to just one time in the month. Thank you. Yeah.
Please.
I read this morning something came to my phone and just about the Krishna where came to the earth and the demigods they follow in his family and somehow happens from the family they are beings the Krishna in some
You mean the fight between Vrishnis and Kurus, yeah?
And after he blessed the demigods to go back like the demigods they are. And my question it is still a blessing if we are like we become in the same from where we came, like the demigod it is beginning and the end. Like the demigods you mentioned of Brahma, it is beginning and the end. And our goal it is like to go beyond this. And how can be the blessing to become again the demigod or to go to the birth and death?
So the word blessing was used.
Yeah.
Liberating them from...
From the, he take care about his devotee.
I mean, I can make up an answer that, they are demigods, but they still got the personal association of Krishna. And that is there forever, they will not forget it. So it's for their eternal benefit.
I think it was maybe the purpose of their existence, it is just to be in service in this position where they are, and this it is the blessing.
The demigods are generally devotees. They are called Sakama devotees. So they are devotees with desires, but they are devotees of Krishna. And therefore, when the Lord comes, he brings his devotees, his assistants. So the demigods may come to assist the Lord in different capacities. Like Haridas Thakur was Lord Brahma, no? Incarnation of Lord Brahma, Haridas Thakur. Yeah? Nobody knows? Haridas Thakur was an incarnation of Lord Brahma. So the demigods come to help the Lord. And according to our philosophy, this is for their eternal benefit. But because the time scales are different in different places, for them it's just a few moments here. Anything else? But Swambhuva, your point was very good, that actually the mantra existed before writing. It was only so. Therefore, I think this is correct interpretation.
Even the Brahma, the secondary creator of this universe, he was meditating, and it came the sound tapa, tapa.
Yeah.
Originally, that's kind of the first hint. And he was Brahma after all.
No, his first sound was kaha.
Tapa.
No, this was the answer.
Oh.
This was the answer from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu.
Yeah.
So kaha is who am I? What's going on here? You wake up in the universe.
Millions of years.
But whatever is helpful for chanting we use. Either writing may be helpful for some people, I think, and for other people a picture, and others are just satisfied with chanting. So it's one of the things which Lord Chaitanya taught us. Lord Chaitanya is the founder of the Hare Krishna movement. Yes, it is there to the left. Is that there is no hard and fast rules for chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Because we are all different, and some people are helped by reading. And I think that at least in the beginning it can be quite helpful if you have the mantra in front of you, and whenever your mind wanders, you go back to. I would accept that. I think it's good. But in general, our goal is to be able to go to the sound, because it's a transcendental sound. Of course, the words of the Vedas are also transcendental, but okay, so we finish here. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.